Hello and welcome to this live video today where we'll be chatting how to get kids to eat vegetables. If we haven't met, my name's Jennifer House. I'm a registered dietitian and nutritionist as well as a mom of three from Calgary, and my business is called First Step Nutrition, and I help make feeding families easier. So this kids and veggies question is something that I've covered before in videos and blogs, but it keeps on getting asked, so I'm going to keep on talking about it. And I know it's one of the main things that parents struggle with when they're feeding young kids. Kids tend naturally not to like vegetables. They tend to be, really hard, a little more bitter than, say, fruits or some other foods, so a little bit more difficult for them to eat. And as parents, we get worried that our child is not getting, enough of these important nutrients to grow to their potential. And often I see this leading into fights at the dinner table and some perhaps counterproductive rules, such as you have to finish your vegetables before you get dessert, or you have to take a bite of everything on your plate. And, we're just trying to get our kids a balanced diet, but ultimately that can lead to a child who has more of an unhealthy relationship with food, as well as a stronger dislike of these foods that we're just trying to get them to enjoy. And ultimately, I know that it would be great if we could all have more peaceful dinner times, and maybe our child would decide to branch out on their own without the bribes and pressure to try some new vegetables. So if that sounds good to you, whether you're here, on the replay or watching this later, just give me a little wave or say hi in the comments. I'm going to get right into it today. So I have 7 tips for how to, not to get your child to eat vegetables, but to, naturally encourage them to choose to eat vegetables on their own. And the first tip is the most important. And it is just to repeatedly offer the vegetables over and over, expose them to the vegetables over and over without pressure. You're a good role model in eating them yourself, but we don't want to have, you micromanaging how much they eat. We don't want you to force them to take a bite or 3 bites, because ultimately what that does is they end up eating less of it, and they end up enjoying it less. I did a live video a little while back called The One Thing to Know About Kids and Veggies, where I delved more into the research. Let me know if you want a link to that. But ultimately, kids that are just exposed to the vegetables without a reward for eating them of any kind or without any pressure enjoy them more. And that's the ultimate goal, right? Is to have kids, eat a wide variety of foods and actually enjoy them. Whereas many of us can probably, remember from our childhood, if we were forced to eat a certain vegetable, maybe we still hate it as an adult. And not that we, maybe wouldn't actually like that vegetable, but it's just the memory of, I had to eat this with a kid and I still hate it. And that's what the studies show too, is if you force your kids to eat veggies, they're more likely to dislike them. So it's counterproductive. So just continue to offer the veggies without any pressure. And, it's easier that way for you, right? It takes a lot of pressure off you if you don't think you have to get your kid to taste them or to eat them. And they'll be more likely on their own to decide to branch out and eat them and to enjoy them. The second tip is to try veggies in different forms. Some kids like veggies frozen. Like I put frozen peas on my kids' tray and they eat them that way. Some like them cooked to a mush. Some like raw, crunchy veggies. I really like veggies roasted. They're nice and soft, so a bit easier for kids to eat, as well as it tends to bring out some of their natural sweetness. If you have a mandolin, you can make chips out of veggies like parsnips, beets, sweet potatoes, and roast them. And as well, cutting some of those veggies into fry form might be more acceptable. Kids tend to like chips and fries, and that way they're easy to eat and grasp and nice and soft as well. So you could try, baking potato chips or homemade beet chips or something like that, and offering those to your kids. Another thing you could try is to give veggies fun names. So this requires a little bit of creativity, and I don't have a lot of it, but there are studies that show kids will eat more of, say, like super sight carrots as opposed to plain carrots, or we call broccolis trees instead of broccoli, and it just kind of tweaks the interest, makes it a little more fun. And you don't have to put, a lot of effort into it, but that's something easy that you could try at the dinner table and see if it interests your child a little more in deciding to try the veggie on their own. Tip number 4 is dip is okay. Even if your child just dips the veggie and licks it off, it's another exposure, and maybe it's part of the step, because learning how to eat, it's a lot of small steps, and we tend to think, if they didn't eat it, it's a total failure. But maybe they touched it, maybe they licked the dip off, and those are all positive steps in the right direction for kids who are a little bit slower to adapt to new foods. And sure, the dip can be ketchup. That's okay. The number 1 ingredient is tomatoes. I know there's sugar in there too, but you can also try things like, a yogurt dip or hummus dip. So the dip does have a little bit of nutrition too, especially if your child is one of those that just dips and licks the dip off. And tip number 5 is to serve the veggies at a time when your child is hungriest. If you have slightly older kids, this happens, most often when you get home after school. Dinner's soon, so you don't want them to fill up on granola bars and crackers, which they tend to do. But this is a great time to put out just a tray of veggies with that dip, and it'll be far more appealing to them if they're hungry. Hunger is the best chef, right? Things taste better when we're hungry. So this is, a good opportunity to offer them at a time when your child is more likely to give them a try, because they're actually hungry and they'll eat anything. And tip number 6 is to get your kid involved. And I know I harp on this a lot, over and over, but whether it's your young kid washing the lettuce for a salad, whether they get to pick up a new vegetable at the store or a new recipe from the recipe book, any of that just gives your child some pride and ownership in the food that you're serving, and they'll be more likely to try it. Again, none of this is a guarantee, but over time, if you, put these steps into place and repeatedly do them over and over and over, you're more likely to have success. And then tip number 7 is to allow your child to play with food outside of a meal or snack time. This is also known as sensory play. You can make animals with, say, take a bell pepper and toothpicks and give it eyes. And there's all sorts of different sensory play activities online and on Pinterest, and this is something I go more into detail in my online group coaching program. But this is especially good for kids who are sensory sensitive, so if they don't like certain textures, if they don't like the feel of certain foods, it exposes it to them in another way at a time when there's absolutely zero pressure to eat it, because it's not mealtime, it's not snack time. So you may catch your child taking a little nibble, but it's especially if you have troubles, decreasing the pressure at mealtime, just the play can be good and another way to expose them to the veggies. If you guys have any questions or any other tips that have worked for you, please share in the comments. I'd love to hear them. And if you are, struggling getting your kids to eat vegetables, getting them to eat enough, getting them to try new foods, I have a group coaching program called End Picky Eating, which I'm opening up again in May. And I like to have 6 to 8 people. We have 3 in there so far, so I'm excited to get going with those moms, and I have a few more spots if you would like to join too. And I created this to help make meal times more peaceful for everyone and to help you raise a child who has a healthy relationship with food. And it's a multidisciplinary program, so I have an occupational therapist who teaches a week for us and a psychologist as well. So I'm just going to quickly share this with you guys so you know where you can find out more information. I'll share this link below. But I know what you're struggling with, what you want, to finally get rid of fights over food and have more peace around the dinner table. And banish the fear that you're failing at your job. I know a lot of us feel a lot of guilt around this, a lot of anxiety, which turns into fights, and nobody enjoys dinner time. So we want to get rid of all of that so that you can feel confident in how you're feeding your child and what you're feeding them. And there are 3 different aspects of the program I provide every single week. On that week's topics, short video trainings so you can watch them throughout the week. We have weekly group calls so you can get the support you need, and that's why I keep the group small so that everybody gets a chance, to talk. And then a private Facebook group so we can work through problems or share, recipes or share our, good things that happen throughout the week as well. And as for what we cover, this goes into more information. We talk a lot about the division of responsibility, so your roles in feeding, as well as your child's roles in feeding. The when, the where, the how much, as well as Melissa, my OT, joins for more in-depth strategies and also some red flags to watch for and some activities if you think your child has oral, motor, or sensory issues. And yeah, we talk about practical stuff too. So, what is a balanced meal and snack? How to get the kids involved and how to deal with sweets. And my psychologist, Karen, also has a couple bonus videos for us in there to help make feeding as well as like parenting in general easier. And I also do a food record analysis because I get, a lot of parents coming in worried their child's not getting what they need. Yet most of the time, I find when I look at it, I help reassure the parents that, they're getting all the nutrients they need. And if they're not, then we can figure out how to fill in the holes. And sometimes that is with supplements. So I have a lot of videos here from moms who have been through the course or been through training with me. So you can, hear what their story was. And I am always open to questions. If you have any questions for me about veggies, about feeding your kids, about if picky eating is right for you, just send me a message, or you can always email jen@firststepnutrition.com, and I'm happy to get back to you there. So thanks for joining me today, and I hope to be back next week. So we'll see you guys soon. Bye.